Hi everyone, my name's Maya and this is my makeup, beauty and lifestyle channel.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are doing well and are staying happy and healthy. You might notice there's something a little bit different about my face. So, in today's video, I'm going to be doing half of my face good makeup and the other half of my face bad makeup. So firstly, I just want to say as a disclaimer, this is not to offend anyone. Everyone has their own personal style and preference of the way they do their makeup. So if some of you guys do your makeup in the way that I have represented as bad makeup, please don't take any offense to it. If you want to do your makeup that way, honestly, go ahead and rock it. But without further ado, let's jump straight into the video and hope you guys enjoy. First things first, you want to make sure your skin is clean and moisturized. This will ensure that all of the products that you put on top of your skin will apply easier and blend way easier. The next thing you want to do is you want to match your foundation and your primer to the type of skin you have. So, for example, I have quite dry skin, so I want to use moisturizing primer. So for the primer, I'm going to be using the Nivea Men's Sensitive Post Shave Balm. And I'm going to be using this because it has a moisturizing texture to it, which is perfect for my dry skin. So I'm just going to be priming the one side of my face. So next up, we're going to be doing the foundation matching. So firstly, you want to match the foundation to your skin. So for example, if you have an oily skin, you want to use a mattifying foundation. So for me, I have dry skin, so I'll be using a more moisturizing foundation or a more of a dewy finish. When you're matching a foundation, you also want to make sure that you're matching the color to your neck and not the skin on your face. And I'm going to be blending my foundation in with a brush first. Now I'm going to be going in using a damp beauty blender. And the reason why you want to use a damp one and not a dry one, because if you use a dry beauty blender, the makeup tends to either be soaked up from the sponge, so a lot of your product will actually go into the sponge and not on your face. And you also don't really get a smooth application or a smooth blend when you use a dry one. So now I'm going to be doing the other side of my face, which is technically the bad side. I'm going to be using the complete wrong shade for my skin. Okay, so as you might be able to tell, I haven't used a sponge on this side. So the good side of my face is slightly more smoother than the bad side. Moving on to the concealer, I'm going to be using the LA Girl Pro Conceal, and this is in the shade Natural. Now you want to make sure with your concealer that you don't use a really pale shade underneath your eyes or even in the center of your face. So on this side, I'm going to be applying way too much product and it's too light for my skin. When you apply your concealer, you always want to apply a little bit less than you think you need and then blend it out. Okay, now we're going to be doing setting powder. So I'm going to be using the Rimmel London Lasting Finish Translucent Setting Powder. And it's very important to set your face. If you don't set your face, all of the bronzer and the blush and the contour that you put on top will not blend easily. It's going to cling to the foundation and look muddy and look very cakey. Okay, so moving on to the bronzer. This is literally one of my favorite makeup steps. It makes such a huge difference to your face. It really gives you a beautiful sun-kissed glow. So I'm going to be using the Body Shop Baked to Last bronzer, and this is in the shade Golden Bronze. And I'm going to be taking a little bit on a duo fiber brush and just applying it to all of the high points of my face. You usually want to apply it to all of the points of your face where you would usually tan. So for me, that's on my forehead, on my cheekbones, a little bit on the center of my cheeks, and then a little bit on my chin and my nose. And you can see it just makes a huge difference to the complexion of your face. And now moving on to the other side, I haven't set my face with powder, and I'm just gonna go straight in with a lot of bronzer and put it on the exact same spot that you put the bronzer on the other side of the face. So you can see that this side looks completely unblended and looks really muddy, whereas this side, it's a natural bronzed glow. Next up is the contour. First thing is when you contour, you want to make sure that you only go 2 shades below for the contour. You never want to go any more than that because it's going to start looking really muddy and way too dark for your skin tone. So I'm going to be using the NYX Contour and Highlight Pro palette, and you want to make sure that you use a cool tone shade instead of a warm tone shade, because you want to create the illusion of a natural shadow. And another thing you want to remember when you contour is you want to take a very small amount on your brush. If you take way too much, again, you're not going to be able to blend it out properly. So as you can see, I'm just taking a small amount and building it up. And now going onto the other side, I'm going to be using a color that's way too warm for my skin and also way too dark. One last point that you want to remember when you're applying your contour, you want to make sure that you blend it no further than where the apple of your cheek is sort of in the middle. So you don't want to take it too far down close to your mouth. So as you can see on the bad side, all the products have really clung to the skin as I haven't set my foundation and my concealer. So moving on to the blusher, I'm going to be using the Kryolan blush palette, and I'm going to be taking quite a neutral pink shade. Now with your blusher, you want to make sure that you apply a very small amount and build it up. And you want to make sure that you also apply it in the right place. You want to apply it around about here and blend it back. Because if you bring it too far down here, lots of people make the mistake that when they put the blusher on, they smile. If you smile and you put the blusher right here, when you stop smiling, it's gonna sag your face down. So now on this side, I'm going to smile really, really hard. So as you can see, this side of my face is slightly more lifted than this side. Also, this side I applied way too much blusher. So next up is the eyebrows. This is a major step. Filling in my brows is one of the biggest things that can create a huge change in my face. And you're gonna wanna brush your hairs upwards. This way that before you fill in the brows, you can see where your most sparse areas are. Now we're gonna actually be filling them in. So I'm going to be using the Essence Brow Styling Kit, and I'm going to be mixing a shade of both of these colors, and then starting underneath my brow in the middle, because that's usually where the darkest part of your eyebrow will be. And with a very light hand, I'm going to be using sort of like brush strokes, and then filling in the brow as much as I can before going in for another dip of the product. Now there are a few things that you want to remember with your brows. First thing is you want to match your brow color to the natural undertone of your hair. And when you fill in your eyebrows, you want to make sure that you're not creating a completely new shape. If you don't have eyebrows, then feel free to create whatever shape you want. And you're basically just going to fill in any areas where you don't have a lot of hair or you have very light hair. So then I fill in the front part of my eyebrow with the brush with almost no product on. So you can see it creates a huge difference, and your eyebrows are one of the main things that frame your face. So you want to make sure that you get the shape just right. And now for the next side, I'm going to take, again, too much product, and I haven't brushed my hairs up, so I can't really tell where all of my sparse areas are, and I'm just going to go straight in. Moving on to the eyes. So firstly, I'm going to be priming my eyelids, and I'm going to be using the LA Girl Pro Conceal Concealer, again in the shade Natural. And especially if you're doing quite a bold eye look, this step is really important. Now I'm going to be setting that concealer in place, and I'm going to be taking this shade here. And if you're just doing a sort of natural daytime look, you want to set your concealer or eyeshadow base, because it will make the blending of the eyeshadows a lot easier on top. For some reason my eyes are actually looking so dry today. I think I need to drink more water. So now I'm going to be taking the same Morphe 350M palette. I'm going to be taking this warm toned orange shade, and I'm going to be applying this to the outer corners of my eyes and then also the inner corner. Now you don't necessarily have to create this shape with eyeshadow. The main thing with your eyes is you want to assess your eye shape first. So for example, I have quite small eyes, but they are almond in shape. So anything that you do to exaggerate the outer corner part of your eye will also suit your eye, or even if you highlight the center of your eye, which is what I'm going to be doing now, creating a halo eye. So now I'm going to be going back into the eyeshadow palette and taking this warm tone brown shade here. And you want to make sure that when you blend the colors, you use a different brush to the brush that you use to apply the color with. And then just blending that into the crease. And now one of the main things with eyeshadow is you want to make sure that you apply the eyeshadow to the place that you want to blend it. So if you apply it, for example, you want to make sure that you apply it slightly lower to the crease and then blend it upwards. Okay, moving on to the next eye, I'm going to be taking the same shades that I used on this eye and the exact same brushes. And I'm going to be taking way too much of the color and just start blending straight away. And then going in with the blending brush and some of the lighter tone shadow and trying to blend that out. Now this doesn't actually look terrible, but you can tell a huge difference between the two. This is a lot more natural and this is quite a bit bolder. Okay, so we've finished doing the top part of the eyes. We're now going to move on to underneath the eyes. So a lot of people tend to make the common mistakes, but to be quite honest, all of the mistakes that we are making in this video, I am guilty of. Practice makes perfect. So I'm going to be taking the same bronze shade that we used before, this shade here. Now when you're working underneath your eyes, you want to make sure not to drag the color too far down because that's going to make your eyes look droopy and tired. So when you blend it, you want to just blend the outer edge. And now on the other eye, I'm going to take way too much product and drag it quite far down. Now as you can tell, this eye is slightly pulled down and this eye is lifted up. And now for the shimmers. When you apply any shimmery eyeshadows, you apply it to the center of your eyelid and not in the crease. If you apply it in the crease, it's going to emphasize any fine lines that you have and just not look the best. So I'm going to be taking the Morphe 350S palette and I'm going to be taking this sort of gold beigey shade. So I'm just going to be spraying my brush a little bit with some setting spray and then picking up some shimmer color and applying it to the center of my eye. And just lightly pressing over the edges where the shimmer meets the matte color. Now you can tell that really adds a pop of brightness to your eye. Now on the other eye, I'm going to be taking the same shimmer that we used before and apply it in the crease. And this is without using the setting spray. Okay, so moving on to the highlighter, which is again one of my favorite steps. It just makes a huge difference. I'm going to be taking the Makeup Revolution Reloaded highlighter in the shade Dare to Divulge. And I'm just going to be taking a small amount first. With highlighter, it's very easy to go from good, intense, and then to way too much, overboard, and messy. So you're going to want to take a small amount first and apply it right to the high points of your face. Now on the other side of my face, I'm going to take a highlighter shade that's way too light. I'm going back into the shimmery palette that we used for the eyes, and I'm going to take quite a white toned shadow and apply it basically all over this high point area, but really go in quite intense. Also, another thing to remember when you're applying a highlighter is not to take it too far down onto the center of your cheek. Now going back onto the good side, I'm going to be taking the same Makeup Revolution highlighter and applying a little bit to the tip of my nose and then in between my eyes. And then going back to the brush that we used before, I'm going to be taking a little bit of the highlighter and applying it onto my brow bone. And this just helps to lift the brow. And then doing the same thing, but taking it on the inner corner of my eye. This makes a huge difference. Next up, we're going to be doing mascara. So one of the main points about mascara is to actually curl your eyelashes first. So on this side, I'm going to be curling them, and this side, I won't be curling them. So you can see the difference that it makes. This always gives me bad PTSD. There's the one day last year on my birthday, I was curling my eyelashes, and I think it was like 7 o'clock in the morning or something. Way too early for me. And I was curling them, and my arm slipped, and I pulled out all of the eyelashes on my one eye. I actually think it was this eye. And I pulled out all of my eyelashes just on the one eye. So I get really nervous when I use eyelash curlers now. And you're just going to curl them and hold them for a few seconds. So you can kind of tell already that it makes a big difference when you curl your eyelashes. So now I'm actually going to be taking a little bit of eyeliner. So you're going to want to look down and pull your eye back. You look a little bit crazy. And then line the top lash line. And that just gives a little bit more definition to the root of your eyelashes. So now moving on to the mascara, I'm taking the Essence Lash Princess Volume Mascara. And the first thing you want to do before you apply the mascara is check the wand. You want to wipe off any excess mascara that you have on the wand. And then with mascara, the only sort of tips that I can give you is to look down when you're doing it. Now what you want to do when you're applying it is actually try and get as much of the root of the lashes as you can. So I quite like to blink into mine and wiggle the wand. And then once you've applied the first coat, you can go back in and do a little bit more if you want to. And then once you've applied the mascara like that, you can go in from the top and brush them down. But you want to just sort of coat the tips of the lashes. This actually makes them look a bit longer. And then go back in and brush them up. Now moving on to the other eye. I'm going to be taking the wand, not wiping off any excess, and then just brushing up like this. And when you do it this way, you actually don't get the most out of your mascara. And I'm also not going to go down and touch the tips. Now I'm going to be doing the lower lashes and gently touching the lower lashes. And then again on the other side. And now with the other side, I'm going a little bit more into my eye. I'm doing a little bit more pressure. And you can see I'm making quite a lot of mistakes underneath. Lastly, moving on to the lips. And one of the first things you want to remember, if you are going to overline your lips, instead of going over your lip line, actually go on top of your lip line. So I'm going to start on the bottom. And I've already applied some lip balm, especially if you're applying lip liner, make sure you apply lip balm first because then it's much easier to apply. And I like to do a little bit of like a blotting movement. Don't do it too much. And then what I like to do when I do my lips on top is I smile slightly like this. So it just pulls my lips a little bit tighter. So on this side, I actually went underneath my lip line. So now moving on to the actual lipstick part, I'm going to be taking the NYX Soft Matte Lip Cream, and this is in the shade Can. In the shade Can. And I'm just going to go straight over where I applied the lip liner, and then again on the other side. And now one more tip that I can give you with regards to lipsticks. If you are going to choose a nude lipstick, please make sure that you don't choose a nude that's actually lighter than your skin tone. Okay, so the last step, we're going to be moving back to the eyes and taking a clean earbud or a Q-tip, and we're going to be flicking off any of the mistakes that we made with the mascara. And as you'll be able to tell, because the mascara is dry, it will literally just flake off. Ooh. Okay, so this is the finished face look that we have created today. So, as you can tell, this is the bad side, and this is the good side. So that's it for today's video, everyone. I hope you have a good rest of the day. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please let me know if you like it in the comments below. Hit like, hit subscribe, and I'll see you next time for another video. Bye!